Hey guys, what's up? Once again welcome to Movie Buzz Limited. The film begins with a woman fleeing through a pitch black night. She was carrying her own child in her womb. She appeared to be in danger and fleeing from someone. She keeps the child away from an orphanage. Orphanages house children who have no family. After securing a locket and a piece of paper with writing on it around his neck, she then leaves there. The film begins a few years later, when the war is still ongoing. The child has grown up and has been given the name Peter. Because of the war, the children in this orphanage are going hungry. As a result, they appear depressed and upset. Peter has befriended a boy here, and he tells him that he believes the owner is quite greedy. She has plenty of food, but she isn't sharing it with us. And she lies about not having food because of the war. She keeps that meal for herself. In order to figure this out, Peter and his friend decide to sneak into her room. By taking advantage of this when the owner goes with the children, Peter and his friend enter her room in search of the meal. When Peter and his friend search her room, they discover a lot of food that the owner has stored, making the children angry at her actions. Many of the orphanage's children had gone missing for a few days. They also discover a large sum of money, implying that she sells the children. Peter discovers a file that must be his, that has the same paper that his mother kept there when he was a child. He begins reading his mother's letter by saying, "My son, you haven't seen me yet, your mother, but I'm sure you will one day." His mother also stated that you are not a typical child. You are truly unique and were born to make a difference. Later, the kids notice someone approaching them and begin to run toward their room. The owner sees them getting out of her room, and accuses them of stealing. Angry, Peter queries about the letter that his mother sent him. While tearing it, she tells him that there is nothing true in it, it is fake tale. Peter is saddened to learn that your mother did not write it. While everyone was sleeping at midnight, we could see some strangers. They begin to enter the room by hanging from the orphanage's roof with the rope. Later, they start taking each child out of the orphanage room one by one. Peter and his friend awaken as a result of this movement. And they begin to flee in order to save their lives. They have seen them, however, and after capturing them, they take them to the roof. All of the children were loaded onto a flying sea ship. They were sea pirates who were present inside the ship after kidnapping the children. Peter's friend jumps and lands on a roof just as the ship is about to take off. And he begs Peter to jump in order to save his life. Peter, on the other hand, was unable to jump due to his fear of heights. Later, as the ship passes by, Peter and the other kids are abducted. While they were moving forward, an army attacked their ship. When the pirates respond with a counterattack, a fight ensues. Both sides fought on equal ground. After escaping the army, the pirates took refuge in the clouds. The following day, they arrive in a strange place where many kids like Peter were. They were taken hostage by these pirates and are being held here. The owner of these pirates was a cruel man named Blackbeard. He used to break mountains from them or dig other places from them. From the green crystals emerge the precious stones that the pirate leader, Blackbeard, takes. He assigns Peter to mine and runs into the manager while doing so. Peter strikes up a conversation with him and inquires about the properties of these crystals. The manager responds that these stones are valuable and have magical properties. After hearing this, Peter is skeptical and wonders what Blackbeard plans to do with the crystals. He informs him that this is a Blackbeard-only secret. At night, we see Peter sitting in a location where he notices an upset boy. Peter attempts to befriend him, but the boy declines. "Because I'm not a good boy, I can't befriend you. So I don't deserve to have anyone as a friend," and he leaves after saying that. Later, while digging, Peter finds a green crystal and he becomes happy. When others learn about it, chaos ensues. They surrounded Peter in order to receive a reward from Blackbeard in exchange for the crystal. They accuse Peter of robbery when he refuses to give them the crystal. That he tried to steal this crystal. Blackbeard is aware that Peter attempted to steal. To punish him, he throws him down from a great height and hits him with his leg. On the way, he begins to float into the air. However, as he approaches the earth, he falls to the ground and faints. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a room. As he walks out, Blackbeard approaches and inquires about his reality. Who is he? Is he a fairy? Because he has seen him floating in the air. How can he fly? Later, Peter tells him about his past and his mom. He also tells him that my mother told him that I am very special and that I was created for a specific purpose. Blackbeard does not believe him, so he narrates his story to him and tells him, "My life will be taken by a boy who is half man and half fairy. So I doubt that you are the boy who can kill me." As a result of his fear, Peter was imprisoned. Peter runs into the same boy who sat sadly earlier. And he didn't communicate well with him before, but he now does. They become friends, and the boy, Peter's friend, comforts Peter by saying, "Don't worry, I'll help you to release from jail." Later, we see them running from the jail and the manager captures them after seeing them. Peter persuades him after getting him to agree to go with him. Later, 3 of them begin to run from this area. They were moving closer to the flying spacecraft with the aid of a swing. As this is happening, Blackbeard's forces observe it and cut the swing's cable. Fortunately, they tumble into the swing rather than hitting the ground. They boarded the flying ship right away, and Blackbeard watched everything that was happening. They don't know how to fly the plane, neither does the manager or Peter's friend. They can't control it as a result, and they tumble into the jungle. Thankfully, they avoid injury this time and are able to preserve their life. Later, as night fell, they continued their further journey on foot. And after staying there, they realized how hungry they were and started searching for food in the jungle. Later, they see movement nearby and this time they become attentive. Later, they are attacked by these enormous, strange-looking birds. They were peculiar because they seemed really bad. Second, they had a body that was split evenly between bone and bird-like tissue. From then, they start to flee in order to escape these birds. They are saved from the birds by a tribe after traveling through time. They were taken to their tribe's king, who asks Peter's friend to fight with the bravest man in their tribe. A fight breaks out between them, and the soldier wins, tossing Peter's friend. When Peter saw his friend being beaten, he had mercy on him and couldn't see him. To save his friend, he steps into the ground and begins fighting the soldier. The king notices Peter's locket during the fight. He tells everyone that Peter is the brave soldier, our last hope, after stopping the fight. His locket attests to the fact that he will save us from Blackbeard's cruelty. The tribesmen apologized for their misbehavior and released Peter and his friends. The king orders Peter to fly in order to test his abilities. Peter was standing on height, as he was afraid of it and he couldn't fly. The king rags to see this and by giving him time for the following 2 days, he says, "If you don't show your powers by flying within 2 days, I'll kill you and your friends." Here we see a magician who takes Peter into a magical room. She tells him his parents' story that they were quite brave. They've spent their entire lives attempting to stop Blackbeard. Throughout the story, we see Peter's mother, who was a fairy who fell in love with the king. When Blackbeard found out she had married him, he became envious. He attacks them in order to separate Peter's parents and marry Peter's mother. Peter's father was killed in that attack. Peter's mother abandoned him outside an orphanage in order to save his life. The scene from the beginning of the film. Later, Peter's mother returned to Blackbeard's city to exact revenge. They have a huge fight, and Blackbeard imprisons Peter's mother for the rest of his life. After hearing this story, Peter becomes enraged and vows vengeance on Blackbeard. He prepares himself for hard work. The manager was making his way through the woods. Blackbeard and his soldiers apprehend him and attempt to question him about Peter. To save his life, he informs them that we have been living in a tribe. After attacking the tribesmen, Blackbeard and his soldiers begin killing them. As he watches this, the king requests that the magician save Peter and his companions. Because it is critical to save their lives, only Peter can save them from Blackbeard. The magician takes Peter and his friends and flies away from there using a rope. Blackbeard begins to chase them when he knows about them. A massive crocodile attacks Peter as they exit the water. He falls into the water, and the crocodile attacks him again because he is in the water. Mermaids arrive and save him before they eat him. Later, Peter and the magician arrive in a city inhabited by fairies. There was a large door there, with the fairies living on the other side. Blackbeard arrives ahead of them and begins to wait for them. Because only fairies are capable of opening the door in this manner. Later, Peter and the magician also arrive there. As Peter was a fairy, so he opens that door after touching it. When it happens, Blackbeard attacks them. The fairies who live there attack Blackbeard after being together. In return, the soldiers of Blackbeard begin to fight with fairies. Both were fighting on equal grounds. A massive fight breaks out between them, and Blackbeard captures Peter. He was about to kill him when Peter's friend collides with Blackbeard's plane. As a result, he loses control, and Peter flees, taking advantage of the situation. Peter arrives at a high point and must jump to protect himself. He still has a fear of heights and thus cannot jump. The magician fought bravely against Blackbeard's soldiers, and after defeating each of them, she begins to fight Blackbeard, and Peter's friend begins to fight him after arriving. After a fight, Blackbeard tosses Peter's friend, who is unaware. At any cost, he must save his friend's life. He gains some strength and then jumps. He quickly finds his friend and sits with him. He is taken aback when he realizes he is flying. Later, after rescuing his friend, he places him in an area where he is safe. Peter goes to save the magician, and the fairies assist him in doing so. All of the fairies attack Blackbeard after they have gathered. They torment him severely, and he becomes terrified. Later, Peter breaks his plane, and the plane is completely destroyed. As a result, instead of taking off, it begins to fall, and Blackbeard falls with it. He dies on the spot because of falling from the top height. Later, all of the fairies take on the appearance of Peter's mother. They tell him, while delivering his mother's message, that he must stay and protect the fairies. He agrees and starts crying because he was seeing his mother for the first time. He recalls his mom's message that she said, "Although you've not seen me, one day you'll meet me." After leaving the fairyland, Peter enters the human world in the following scene. He takes all of the children from the orphanage with the help of tribesmen. He invites them to stay because he knows they will be happy in this fairyland. The film concludes with this happiness. Thank you very much. Fearless.